Okay, so we are going to talk about in this recap session everything 990. So the Form 990, we're going to get into it. And while the 990 itself has 12 subparts to it, we're not going to do every single part. But I do want to highlight for you what it is, and what's on it. Some of the major parts that are relevant to you, and actually all as board of nonprofits, all of the areas are relevant to you. You may not be able to complete on your own some of these parts, but they're all relevant. You need to be aware of them all. We're not going to go through them all. We're just going to go through the high level things that I feel would give you some familiarity with the 990 itself. So page one. Page one is your summary page. So the return itself, the 990 itself, it's called a return of organization exempt from income taxes. So page one, part of part two is on there. You'll see this is the page where the secretary or the treasurer or the chair needs to sign, indicating that they are an officer and they approve, they are representing the board, and the full board has approved not just this one page, but everything to follow, right? So that's the first page. It gives us, the summary of all of the financial data. You see the revenues, expenses, activities, and governance. All of those financial aspects are here, and it indicates in the above who you are, the name of the organization, your EIN number. All of that information is on the face of the document. So that's parts 1 and 2 on page 1. The next. Page 2, part 3, it says briefly describe the organization's mission. That's what you want to do. And then the subpart of part 3, I shouldn't say it's not a part 4, 4A, they want you to list the organization's primary programs, more significant programs that they run. So that's the mission and what the organization does. So that's important. That's an important area. And you all need to know you should know what that is because you're overseeing that activity. And part 4 actually is all questions, yes or no questions, right? But they're questions that, again, will spur you on to a better understanding of the nonprofit. Just giving you a summary of it, the checklist of required schedules. So that we spoke of in either parts of session 3, and we may have mentioned in session 4, but either it was Richard or Wayne that mentioned that it's important for a board to maybe go through these, maybe not every year, but 1 year or a moment in time where the board themselves go through each one of these questions, because it'll give them a better understanding of their role as board members. Also, it'll give them a better understanding of their understanding of the nonprofit itself and their purpose as board members, when it comes to the oversight of that nonprofit. So these questions are thorough, they're detailed. Part 5, statement regarding other IRS filing and tax compliance issues. These are also more questions, again, to but to get the board acclimated or closely align them to the stringentness, or I shouldn't say stringentness, but that's not a word. The intensity, I'll say it like that, the intensity of their roles as board members. I mean, the IRS is a federal agency, Department of Treasury, so you go in through these questions as well to determine, to make you more familiar with your role, your responsibility to the government, basically. and as far as how you represent that nonprofit as a board, as an overseer of that nonprofit. So those are really good questions as well. Part 6, governance, management, and disclosure. Again, more questions. Governing body and management. These questions, again, directly relate to you. We're less about your oversight and your understanding of the nonprofit and your responsibilities to the Department of Treasury, to the federal government concerning your oversight of this. This is for you. Like, these are questions related to you and your own personal, as a board, roles and responsibilities as it relates to this filing itself. So those questions are there. Again, giving you a better understanding of your role, the nonprofit, your role in a nonprofit, and your role as it relates to your responsibilities to the federal government, specifically as it relates to this 990. The next area is part number 7, and this is the listing. I'm not going to read that title because I don't want you all to get confused. Section 8 says officers, directors, trustees, key employees, highest compensated employees. So this list, they want every board member to list themselves on this list. So all board members are listed on here. All key executives are on here. Highest paid, highest compensated employees are on this list. They want to know. They want to know who's responsible, and that is you. So that should help to clarify any gray area when it comes to your role and your responsibility and how the public are viewing you. Specifically, agencies, federal agencies out there are viewing you. They're viewing you, know this is your responsibility, and we're going to make sure that you know it's your responsibility by putting your name, your address, the hours that you contribute, what role you play, what type of officer you are. All of those things are listed here, right? So you have to be cognizant of that, and that's again, part 7 actually allows us to see that. And page 8 is more of part 7, just in case you have a board, and for-profits and some bigger nonprofits, they have a few board members. They have quite a few board members. And as you can see, if you all look at this, it's 25 lines, and they might have more, they might have more. Bigger organizations, you typically have more board members. If you all are movie buffs, kind of like me, Wayne Corp, I forget how many board members were in there, but when Bruce gave Fox, allowed him to be chair, he had a board, that he was sitting in front of, and I think you can count the people there. If you look at, if anybody's seen the latest Tron movie, the movie started off with, I don't think it started off, but towards the beginning they had a board meeting. You guys can count the board members in there. So it's just, letting you know, like, the board numbers can vary, right? So the next part is statement of revenues. We're not going to get into that. That's financial driven information. Again, your tax professional or CPA can guide you through that area. Statement of functional expenses. 9, again, your tax professional CPA should be able to guide you through that, or somebody that has experience on your board can guide you through that area. Balance sheet, same thing. Person with financial expertise or acumen can guide you through there. The last area that I want to get into is the last page. In the last page, they break down a few things that I like to read, and I like to read these. I just Financial statements and reporting. This is like the last checklist, but I want to go through some of these with you all so you kind of get an idea of what these are and how your representation is important. So part 12 says this: check financial statements and reporting. Check if Schedule O contains responses or not to any of Part 12. So that's the mission. Part 12, Inquiry 1, we'll call it. Accounting method used to prepare Form 990. Is it a cash method? Is it an accrual method? Or is it another method? If the organization changed its method of accounting from prior year, or check other, explain why and okay. So this is asking the board. It's asking the board this information. The board should know it. 2A, where the organization financial statements comply or were the organization's financial statements compiled or reviewed by an independent accountant? If yes, check a box below to indicate whether the financial statements for the year were compiled or reviewed on a separate basis, consolidated basis, or other. Again, that indicates that they want to understand if you have a professional with you helping you with this information. So that's one indication there. 2B, were the organization's financial statements audited by an independent accountant? If yes, check the box below to indicate whether the financial statements for the year were audited on a separate basis or consolidated basis, or both. Again, trying to understand if you're aligned to a professional, a CPA or a tax professional. This one it has to be a CPA because they're the ones with the licensure to be able to do audits and reviews. 2C says, if yes to line 2A or 2B, does the organization have a committee that assumes the responsibility for oversight of the audit, review, compilation of its financial statements, and selection of an independent accountant? If the organization changed either its oversight process or selection process during the tax year, explain in Schedule O. So that lets us know, okay, we don't want you all to just be relying on the CPA and not overseeing and reviewing what the CPA is doing. And having questions for that CPA, understanding, what they're providing you and understanding how it is showing the operations of the organization and how things, we might have to change some stuff, we might have to modify things to, shore up our organization in whatever ways we need to based on what they're providing us. So they want to make sure that it's oversight being done, and by you, by the board. 3A says, as a result of federal awards, was the organization required to undergo an audit or audits as set forth by the single audit in OMB Circular A133? Very important question. So if you receive, and this gets back to a previous session that we did, single audits. If they let you know here, did you receive federal funds? If you receive federal funds, did it require you to have an audit? Now you got to be careful, because if you don't know, you better get your CPA, your professional, to let you, hey, do we need to have audits on? We received all this money back, last year from the federal government. Do we need to have? Sorry guys. Do we need to have an audit? They need to tell you. You need to know, because if you answer this incorrectly, it's important that it's important that you answer correctly, because if you did receive federal funds that did require an A133 audit and you select no, and you should have had an audit, that's not a good thing. That's not. I'll just say it like that. It's not a good thing. So understanding that. So these are things that just highlight the importance of this statement. Now, why are they asking all these questions, like audits, reviews, stuff like that? Because they know that the information on this form, if you were ever pulled by the IRS and the IRS had to look at your activity, then they would rely on the audited financial statements and make sure that your tax returns aligns to those financial statements. Now they're going to ask some more questions and do some more reviews, but if you have these things in place, and again, you have your tax professional or your CPA also looking to ensure that the financial statements that have been audited or reviewed are lining up with the information and reconciling with the information that's on this return, then you're one step closer to relief of the IRS, in your back pocket, kind of looking at things. So all of these things are important, and that's, just an example. That's the 990, and hopefully they gave you a bit of flavor as to what it is, what it involves from you as a board, and why you need to have someone either on your board that has some financial expertise, and you need to, and it doesn't have to be us, but you need to align yourself to a tax professional or a accounting professional, a CPA preferably, to at minimum bounce things off of as you complete this. If you have someone on your board that has a little bit of expertise in financial matters, you want to be able to bounce the information that they're putting together off of this professional that you're aligning yourself to. So that's what a 990 is. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully I didn't bore anybody, put anybody to sleep. But it's important. It's an important statement. It has to be filed every year.